Have you had your ice cream with Jesus this week? That's my new opening line now. I have been asking you, do you know what it would be like to have ice cream with Jesus? I'm going to start assuming you do, and that you too have learned. It's awesome to just sit with a bowl of tasty food and talk to Jesus and hear his voice and let him teach you as you make the decision to follow him. It's a wonderful thing, and I pray you do it. I pray you still give us a follow and a like, and that every week, multiple times a week if you can, you'll find that quiet time to just listen to Jesus' words. Now, as I've said, this podcast is about making disciples, teaching them to obey. We're walking through Matthew. Yes, I take from Mark and Luke and John whenever I need to fill in. And we're going to do that today. The story that Matthew leads with next, I will take from Mark, and I'm just going to put them together as one story. But this story comes right after Jesus told his disciples they had to be like children. Then he told them, you must deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me, by reminding them that you must give up all your other gods. Okay. Then he told them that they would sit on 12 thrones when he ruled. And I think that's what prompted this next story. Let's just start into it. The mother of the sons of Zebedee. Now, let me pause. Most people believe that the mother of the sons of Zebedee is actually Salome, who is the mother of Jesus's mom, or sister of Jesus's mom, Mary. That this is Jesus' aunt, and that James and John were Jesus' cousins. That is quite possible when you consider she is very bold in approaching Jesus and asking this request. But she came up to him with her sons. Both the boys are in agreement with her. They've talked this out because Mark says the boys ask. And Matthew says the mom asks, which tells us all three of them were asking. But she knelt before Jesus and asked him for something. And he said to her, what do you want? She said to him, say that these two sons of mine are to sit one at your right hand and one at your left in your kingdom. Oh my goodness. Did Jesus roll his eyes? I think at this point, if it was me, I would roll my eyes. Yes, he did tell them they would all sit on 12 thrones. Well, why isn't that enough? Well, we not only want to sit on the thrones, but we want the two closest positions to you. Again, he already talked to them just a few weeks ago. We went over as he talked to them about who is the greatest in the kingdom, and they were arguing with each other. Remember that story? They argued with each other over who deserved to sit closest to Jesus. So Jesus said, you do not know what you're asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism with which I am baptized? Now here he was talking about his suffering. Are you able to drink the cup of suffering, or be baptized, which means immersed in suffering? And they just said, we are able. Of course, Jesus already told them they don't fully understand what he's saying. Well, he said to them, the cup that I drink, you will drink. And with the baptism with which I am baptized, you will be baptized. Now we know that actually happens. John lives his life with suffering. He ends up on the Isle of Patmos. He does not have an easy life as an apostle. And James is the first of the 12 to be executed. He dies by the sword. So when Jesus proclaimed to them they would, he was predicting, but they didn't fully understand it. Matthew says, when Jesus responded with, "You will drink my cup," he then followed it up by saying, "But to sit at my right hand and at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those whom it has been prepared by my Father." Jesus said, "It's not for me. That's something my Father's already decided. My Father will be the one to choose those positions." They think because they're relatives, and we know James and John were two of the three that went everywhere Jesus did, that they could ask for special privilege. Now, I need us to remember that this was something that disciples have already argued about. Who is the greatest? Later, at the Last Supper, they will once again argue with one another. Who's greater than who? Which is why Matthew says in verse 24, and when the 10 heard about it, they were indignant at the two brothers. Why were they indignant? Well, because they all thought they deserved those two positions. And this is where I kind of believe the commentators who think they're relatives, the gall that they would use their position as cousins to try to get a position that they all wanted. But once again, Jesus has to repeat himself. This is why I laugh and say, did he roll his eyes? Because Jesus called them to him. And he said, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for power and prestige and authority, and they really want the other guys to have to wash their feet and so on. But Jesus says, that's not how it's going to be in my kingdom. He says, not so among you, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant. And whoever would be first among you must be your slave. Now, again, he just said this. Matthew recorded these exact words. Luke will record it later. But Jesus said, even as the Son of Man, and he always called himself that, came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. He said, I want you to be like me. You're my disciples. You're supposed to be discipling to be like me. Have I ever lorded it over anyone? Have I ever acted the way you guys are acting? Have I not always served? Have I not always blessed? One day, here soon, Jesus will wash their feet after they've argued over who ought to wash their feet. Jesus said, if you're my disciples, follow me and be like me. And that's what we came here for, to be his disciples, to learn what it means and to follow him. Then he says, be ready and willing and able to give your life for everyone else, to serve everyone else over yourself. We've talked a lot about this over the last weeks. Jesus refused to offend over his rights. We're his disciples. We should do the same. Like I said a few weeks ago, Paul said it best, if my rights hurt my brother, I'll never use them again. He said, if eating meat hurts my brother, I'll never eat meat again. Jesus wants us to be servants, like the lowest, youngest servant child. To sell all our possessions, give to the poor is not literal. It's the idea of get rid of all our gods and follow him. Get rid of anything that might tangle you up in the world. And yes, there's promise of blessing, but don't look for position. Look to serve. And the cool thing here is Jesus said, if your eyes will continually roam around looking for who you can serve, if you will constantly looking for every opportunity to lay down your life for someone else, then you're the one who's greatest in his kingdom. And you will be the one that the Father ushers in to sit closer to Jesus. I gave a call to people to join me in a little sport, we'll say, that we would see who could sit closest to Jesus when that day comes. Are you going to be sitting up close, or are you going to be sitting far, far away? We all have a little bit of can you pause? Can you pause? If you will spend your time looking for every opportunity to serve, to be the least, to take care of someone else, to wash someone else's feet, if you look for every opportunity to be like Jesus and lay down your life, then you automatically are risen up. He says, you're the greatest because you're like me. That's what he's saying. You're like me. And the more like me you are, the greater you are, and the greater your reward. You know, not long ago, I kind of put out a competitive thought, a little competition among disciples, that who will, as the disciple said, be the greatest. But here, the idea I put it as, if at the giant banquet table, everyone has a name place and a place we will sit, how close to Jesus are you going to be sitting? Maybe not on 12 thrones, the way the apostles are thinking, but how close to Jesus at the head table are you going to be? And I said, in that end, everybody who took my challenge will stand up and we'll wave at each other and see who. But what we'll be seeing is who gave their life for others the most. Who was it that became the most like him? Who was it that spent the most time with him and knew him the best? That's what we'll be seeing. And that is something I challenge everybody to try and do. Not like the apostles who wanted power and prestige. They were arguing with who's the greatest so that you would serve me. But who knows Jesus, follows Jesus, and gives their life like Jesus so much that they get to sit closest to him at the banquet table. That's just a fun challenge. But Jesus here is saying that that's how you do it. You give your life. You be exactly like me. In fact, later in the Gospel of John, he'll say it this way: a new command I give you. Love each other like I love you. Remember earlier he said, love each other the way you love yourselves. And now he says, no. Let's take that bar and raise it way up. You love like I love you. I gave my life for you. Now you give your life. Give your life for each other, because he's not saying love me like I love you. Yes, that's what we should be doing. We should be loving Jesus like he loves us, yes. But he said, I want you to love others like I love you. That's the challenge. And so I challenge you, and I hope someday to see a lot of people in that heavenly place standing up, millions maybe, and all us waving and laughing and just going, it was such an awesome challenge, and seeing who got to be closest. And I know the Master will smile. But until then, get you a bowl of your favorite treat, sit down and talk to the Master. Who could I serve today? And in what way could I serve them? What else can I do to be like you? Jesus said, "My sheep know my voice." You'll hear him, and he'll clearly tell you. And then, just do it. So until then, enjoy your time with Jesus.